I'd like to take a little bit of time to talk to you a little bit about digital marketing and why I feel this is a great opportunity. But before I go into that, I'd like to kind of start with a story, beginning of one of my favorite books. It goes this way. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredibility. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. And I really don't want to talk to you about the winter of despair, but I would like to talk to you about the spring of hope. And that takes me into the area of digital marketing. My name is Murray Johansson. I'm the founder and president of Legacy. And what we do is we focus on 21st century skills. The one that I'm going to talk to you about today is digital marketing. It seems to me that one of the metaphors for life is the willingness and the ability to be able to chart a path. And what we all have to do then is we have to chart a path through the sea. And sometimes people think of the sea as a metaphor for a market, as in a market like real estate. And so all of us are going to have to find this particular path. And it's good, it's very important if we're going to figure out the direction that we need to know, that we kind of are able to read the opportunities and the trends inherent in moving forward. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about opportunities and trends in digital. The first thing to understand is that this area actually has gone up and is actually more lucrative because of the disruption of a number of live business models. In other words, the disruption of the live models has forced a fair amount of human activity online. To give you 3 examples, we have virtual career fairs, we have virtual conventions, and we have virtual trade shows. None of these were really well attended up until the COVID era, and now they are a really, really important element of the business cycle and the business model. And that means, of course, that one has to market these things. So there's just a whole bunch of new elements, new services, new products that are being marketed and need to be marketed digitally. The second thing for us to understand, and it's a really important one, is that B schools rarely teach digital. And it took me a while, even though I'm a B school professor, and I have been for a number of years, to really understand how little is really, really covered in the marketing or the marketing communication curriculum of the standard business school. Well, you might look at another way and say, look, if you're in field, this is great because that means that there's less competition. There's going to be less students who really understand it. Pay might be a little bit better because there's less competition. And also, really, really important, for those in the field, we know that it doesn't take 4 years to figure out how to do this. So indeed, the fact that the B schools pretty much ignore this completely can be an advantage to you once you're in field. It also must be said that there are high cost and low cost ways to do digital. The high cost ways tend to be oriented towards advertising and buying ads. Ads tend to be, in most platforms, a little bit on the upended side. However, still, and this is really important for those people that want to create a personal brand or they work in smaller companies, you can still get a lot of free connection with people if you do know some elements like organic in websites, if you know how to put together videos or you know how to put together blogs. So this is again an opportunity for those people that don't have a huge budget to be able to draw on when it comes to creating a business. Fourth thing to understand, and again, I think this is a subtle point, but I think you're going to recognize it right away once you hear it, is the idea that it's an online service. Therefore, it's best learned online. We don't get much traction by studying in textbook. We actually get a lot of traction if we listen to the people already in field and hear what they have to say about how to be successful. In our programs, we have a number of different options for people. For example, we have full classes, which are a little longer, short courses, which of course are usually one module. We do coaching for those people that really would like to do that versus having a cohort and being a part of a group. And obviously we do internships. And we also don't look at the idea of a degree. And I believe that degrees are not as useful as they once were in terms of signaling to hiring authorities what someone knows. I think I said that pretty carefully. So there are other ways to be able to do this. And so we use things like badges, certificates, and of course, artifacts for those that tend to work with us and for us. And I will say this again, it doesn't take 4 years. And I think this is actually really, really important. The fifth one is the idea of freedom. I do, and I've started, I think we all have, you know, where we're working 8 to 5. It's never really quite 8 to 5. It's usually like 7 to 7, more likely, and you're getting paid for 40 hours, even though you're working 60 or more. But the interesting thing about this field, and some of you might find it very, very attractive, is you can work live, you can work online, and you can obviously work remote. And another thing is you can work local. You could have clients national, and you can have clients internationally. All you need is some basic IT and broadband. And I wanted to tell you a story because one of the channels we work really hard is LinkedIn, and I was connected by a young digital marketing specialist. I found his story to be fascinating. He ended up going to France at the age of 17. Obviously, he continued his studies there, but he didn't go to the university. I think it's important to understand. He didn't go to the university. So he ended up continuing to study, and he thought a little bit about it, and he said, wow, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm originally from Africa. Now I'm in Europe. What do I know that I can do really well? And he hit upon this: email, writing email marketing pieces, writing pieces itself. Now I will say to you, it's not as easy as it sounds, to be really honest with you. And so here we have someone who originally was born and raised for many years in Ghana, went to France, and you know where his customers are? Exclusively, they come out of the UK and the US. And I think this is, in my view, one definition of freedom. You do not necessarily have to work live unless you really, really want to. So the bottom line, everyone, is that you have the ability, I think, to, and I really do believe this, to be able to design a career that can be quite lucrative. You remember I started about with the metaphor about charting a path through the sea. There's another metaphor I want to close with, and this is a metaphor called windsurfing. If you've ever seen people do this, this is quite fascinating. The interesting thing about a windsurfer is they don't necessarily need the wind. They actually need the sail and the board. And then they just need to tack, and they can go pretty much anywhere they want to. In other words, they can harness the wind to take them wherever they want to go. And even if the wind is blowing in the exact opposite direction compared to what they want to go, it doesn't matter because they can still get there. And that's the way I kind of think a little bit about digital marketing. It's the ability to get to where you want to go. because you have the ability to tack on the sea of the market that you happen to be in. So I hope you enjoyed this particular overview. If you are interested in more information, please get a hold of us. The information is, of course, in the material descriptions associated with the video. Thank you very, very much.